This video contains heavy spoilers of The Last of Us Part 2. It's better you have already finished the game. If you don't mind spoilers, keep watching. The Last of Us Part 2 ends with a very sad note. Ellie has lost everything. She managed to break the cycle of vengeance, but it was a little too late. She can't even play the guitar properly. She is alone, the one thing she feared the most. She walks towards the horizon, taking only her backpack, going to who knows where. There is only one thing that pushes her forward: the search for meaning in her life, whatever that is. Abby, on the other side, also managed to break the cycle of vengeance. She too lost all of her loving ones, but now she has left, and together they are finding a new path of hope, of purpose. When you finish the game for the first time, the main menu screen changes. I already made a video about that screen and what it means. You can watch it here. It appears that Abby and Lev succeeded in finding the new Fireflies in California. Where could we go with these characters now? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we could expect from the future of The Last of Us. It's not just about a new game, it's about how to expand this universe through comics, an HBO TV series, and maybe something more. So, what's next? Will there be a third part? Neil Druckmann, creator and writer of The Last of Us, has stated that currently Naughty Dog is not working on a new sequel. They are working on something, but it seems that it is not The Last of Us Part 3. It could be DLC, or even a new smaller game, as they did with Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Druckmann's most recent statements are a lot like the ones he told when the first Last of Us came out in 2013. Back then, the world was shocked by the story of Ellie and Joel and hungry for more. Naughty Dog said they were not planning a sequel at that moment, and a couple of months later, they released the Left Behind DLC. After that, they focused on Uncharted 4: A Thief's End for the PS4. I think we can expect something similar this time. They will probably release a DLC or a smaller game next year and continue working on a new project for PS5, possibly a new IP. I think they have something special in the trading cards that Ellie collects in The Last of Us Part 2, but it will probably stay there. It could be good for everyone, Naughty Dog and the public, to get away from The Last of Us for a couple of years. In spite of the undeserved hate and trashing this new game has received online, I believe Sony and Naughty Dog got what they wanted. The game appears to be a financial success. It would be silly for them not to make a new sequel for PS5. Even if the fandom is divided, Sony and Naughty Dog not only have a chance to continue the story, but now they have an obligation to keep the IP alive, because a TV adaptation is coming. What could the HBO series be about? There is a huge opportunity to expand the Last of Us universe with this adaptation. But how? People are saying that it would be great to see more about Joel's past, the years after Sarah's death, and how he and Tommy survived. This TV series could tell us more about Joel and Ellie's journey, the moments that we didn't see in the first game. What did they do after Henry and Sam died? What happened after they encountered David and his people in winter? It is also a nice chance to tell us more about Fireflies, Marlene, and even Anna, Ellie's mom. I agree with that, but not entirely. I don't think the HBO series should focus on Joel and Ellie, at least not directly on them. They should not be the protagonists. Why focusing on what the games have already offered on this TV adaptation? Sure, it would be interesting to find out more about Fireflies, Fedra, and of course, the first years of the infection. How society collapsed and the world became this living hell. The Last of Us universe offers an immense chance for telling amazing, tragic, and dark stories. We already have seen these stories by reading notes, collecting artifacts, taking a good look at walls, furniture, and corpses. Do you remember in the first game the story of Ish? When Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam escape from the hunters in Pittsburgh, they get inside the sewers. In there, they discover the story of how a man named Ish managed to establish a peaceful society inside the sewers, where many different families with children live together in relative harmony. Until they didn't. We discovered this background story just by reading notes and observing the walls and little details. Now, imagine an episode about that. Or an episode about Bill and Frank, his partner, and how he got the battery and tragically got bitten. Or an episode about David and his peculiar community. There is another story in The Last of Us Part 2 of a man named Boris, whose daughter was killed by the wolves. He decided to take revenge on them, but his neighbors conspired against him. Boris found out that his own friends wanted to turn him in. He managed to trap them in a room full of cordyceps, killing all of them, but in the process, he got infected. Stories like this, maybe not precisely these ones, but I think that this is where an HBO series should go. Both games have a lot of magnificent, tragic, and lovable stories, told on pieces of paper and details like graffiti, furniture, and clothes. Maybe we could have new protagonists and have little mentions in dialogues that could make a reference to the characters that we already know in the games. Focusing on Joel and Ellie in this adaptation would restrict the potential that this universe has to tell memorable, chilling stories. Whatever it is, I think the HBO series will arrive before the third part of the game. And what could the third game be about? Well, let's see. On Abby's side, there is a chance to discover what the Fireflies are doing now and what they need. Are they still trying to find a cure? Are they still trying to restore society like it was 20 or 30 years ago? How are they planning to do it? They already know there is a girl out there who is immune. They know for sure that Ellie is their best guaranteed chance to develop a vaccine. Will they focus their efforts on finding Ellie? Will Abby and Lev have the task of finding Ellie across the country? I want to talk about the Fireflies a little bit. Let's think about the possibility of developing a vaccine. Even if they have the best of intentions, what would a vaccine do to this devastated world? How would they give it to people? With a vaccine, the Fireflies would become the most powerful faction in the world and a menace to every other faction. I think there is a chance to tell a good story about this possibility. But for now, let's get back to our main characters. Even if Abby and Lev are the perfect way for us to know more about the reassembled Fireflies, a considerable part of the public does not like them. We already know that many people are not into Abby and Lev. But if Naughty Dog is interested in telling us what happened with the Fireflies, Abby and Lev, maybe the best way to do it would be on a DLC or a small chapter. What about Ellie? The Last of Us is about Ellie. I don't think her story is finished after part 2. Where did she go? How did she process everything she did? What does she want now? If the Fireflies are still looking for a vaccine, will she still be interested in sacrificing herself for it? Will she return to Jackson? I don't think so. She lost Dina, she lost Tommy, and most of all, she lost Joel. Jackson would be too painful for her to live in. Ellie wanted her life to have meaning. She has lost everything except her life. She can still give it meaning. How? Well, here it is, the big chance for Naughty Dog to continue this story. I don't know how, but one way or another, Ellie and the Fireflies will have to cross their paths again. Maybe in good or bad terms. Maybe the Fireflies will be hunting Ellie. Maybe Ellie is willing to find the Fireflies again. Or maybe she finds a different meaning for her life, and what the Fireflies want with her creates a new conflict. We could also get new comics, like the American Dream series from Dark Horse. Comics could be a great way for Naughty Dog to tell us more about the years Joel and Ellie spent together living in Jackson. People want more of Joel and Ellie together. I think it could happen either on DLC or comics. What do you think? Where could The Last of Us go now and how? Let me know what you think in the comments of this video. If you like it, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel. Have a good day and have fun. Bye!